Boston, a Skinner auction was underway. The first item up for bid was a letter appraised between $80,000 to $120,000. I don't know what it went for. The subject of John Quincy Adams' letter focused upon the abolition of slavery and what improvements in life would be to come in 200 years. Well, here we are now, almost 200 years later. On the topic of slavery, John Quincy Adams speaks of his word, futurity, and Adams directly links the Declaration of Independence to the eventual end of slavery, when he ponders, and I quote, "How many centuries will it take to accomplish this revolution? It is not given to me to foretell. I believe the day will come when there will be neither war, slavery, nor hereditary kings upon the earth." John Quincy Adams reported that in the span of his own last half century, notwithstanding the bloody wars that have waged, the uniform tendency of the minds and hearts of civilized men toward each other has been from cruelty to benevolence, from harshness to humanity. If you accept the principle that you are known by the company you keep, then Isaac Hull was doing just fine. Adams was a friend. In fact, at the time at which John Quincy Adams was elected president, Isaac Hull wrote that Adams was a wise man and said, "God grant us that Adams and men like Adams make proper use of their wisdom." Worthy of note is that in John Quincy Adams' last will and testament, one of the prized possessions listed is a cane which had been fashioned from wood made by the USS Constitution and presented to him by Hull. Let me further add that our second president's grandson, that is to say our sixth president's nephew, was named Isaac Hull Adams. If you know anything about early history, you know that the politics between Andrew Jackson versus John Quincy Adams was a slugfest. How on earth did Isaac Hull personally manage to keep good relations with each of these two rivals? He may have been about the only one. And it was due to his nature. Hull was known to say, "The cloth hath no party." It was his way of keeping above the fray, and while some other officers in the Navy wore their political affiliations on their sleeve, Hull kept his professional life separate from his personal political leanings. Edmund Quincy says Isaac Hull's manners were easy and being eminently suitable to the man and characteristic of him. They were plain, bluff, and hearty, and became a rough and boisterous captain of the sea, and indicated a good heart and good temper, though not incapable of being ruffled on sufficient occasion. A relative of Isaac's, as a young boy, remembers that after the war, Captain Hull was for many years commandant of the Charleston Navy Yard, and I used to see him often at my grandfather's house, my father's, and his own. He had a pretty schooner yacht in which he used to take his friends sailing or fishing in the harbor, and I was sometimes of the party. Isaac Hull, as I remember him in those days, was a short, thick-set, portly man with a dark complexion, an intelligent face with resolute and hardy expression. Like Chaucer's shipman, with many attempts has his birdman shake. His manners were quiet and unassuming, and rather reserved, except among his relations and intimates. Other chapters in Hull's life, one could be called the Monroe Doctrine. In 1825, Isaac Hull led a Pacific squadron of ships off the coast of Peru, at a time when nationalists led by Simon Bolivar in South America were vanquishing European Spanish influence. It was Hull's presence as a neutral power that saw to it that American merchant ships went unmolested. In 1833, Isaac Hull returned to Boston for a short visit to stage a ceremonial dedication of a new technological dry dock marvel. The U.S. President and various dignitaries attended one rainy early morning as Hull, in all kinds of animation, just barking out orders and all that, to his crew, he was symbolically bringing the USS Constitution in as the first ship to be treated to the new dry dock use. In the time of Hull, this country was proclaiming itself a new world, a new constellation. From the mission statement with its built-in tripwire that all men are created equal, to the framework of law designed to guarantee individual liberty. Why do I return with a paragraph about the founding documents? Well, there's this thing called name recognition. In the advertising world, you might call it name branding. And thank you, Isaac Hull, for that. It just so happens that Isaac Hull steered the founding document's namesake, the USS Constitution, through critical and tumultuous times. And the short, brown, sturdy, talented sailor named Isaac did an exquisite job of it. Contained within my future book will be actual and associative relics, remnants of a man at his time, his successes, his travails, his associates, his detractors, his supporters. At the closing of the book will be a section that represents the tributes made of Isaac Hill's brief but powerful achievement that were made in the span of years. This section shows that, they're made in the span of years to follow after he departed. Hull ripples still exist everywhere. In antique shops, ornate and expensive scripophily or calligraphy heralds Hull and his fellow officers as guardian spirits of liberty. At an antique clock shop on the other side of that town are grandfather clocks, banjo clocks, with a reverse mirror images of Hull's moments. Most households in the 1940s, 1950s had the same print on their walls of the USS Constitution. In fact, on every episode of All in the Family, you will see that the Constitution print is in a frame by the front door. The USS Constitution, the ship Hull made famous, survives today as the oldest commissioned ship afloat in the world. People like Anne, Brian, Matt, Gary, and Laura do a superlative job of bringing out the experiences of rich history narratives in tremendous ways. Go visit if you haven't already. On Thanksgiving Day, a celebrated road race in Hull's name takes place every year in his hometown of Derby and Shelton, Connecticut. Hull's name gives way to a host of lively, friendly faces, donning their running shoes on a brisk November morning, each with a story to tell. A spirited sense of community abounds along the Naugatuck River. Hull did his best to perpetuate a national identity at a time when this nation was founded. Edmund Quincy describes it as basically grouping. I don't think that Hull would mind if in the surroundings he was once a part of, a road race, a bridge was done in his honor. Let me finish my wild, meandering rant with this. Isaac Hull was christened by the Reverend Daniel Humphreys in 1773. Julie's already said that. I'm just repeating it. Daniel Humphreys was the father to the illustrious hometown hero David Humphreys. David had an older brother named Daniel. Daniel was a successful attorney in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. He was also a member of a religious sect called the Sandemanians. Apparently, this particular denomination was known for sharing things, in striking contrast to the populace at the time, that was really bent on frugality. I've been told that Daniel went to such extremes with his religious practice that family members would be appointed to watch him like a hawk, lest he give away house furnishings and the like to any and all visitors. In the spirit of Daniel Humphreys, in the spirit of Captain Cohen, in the spirit of Officer Wytek, I took a 1940s, 1950s restrike of the exact medallion that the U.S. government awarded to Isaac Hull in appreciation for his heroic victory. I brought the medal to a chocolate manufacturer on Main Street in Andover, Massachusetts. And Massachusetts, yeah, I live there, I can't even pronounce it. Of the coin. She sent the medal to a mold maker in New York. He sent it back. Once she got her company, once she produced it, the exact obverse image of a delicious edible replica I want to share with you. I want this 200th year of Isaac Hull's victory to be a success. Out of this wish, I offer to share with each and every one of you, the people of Derby and Shelton, this Hull's medal for everybody, and Kim will be passing these around to everybody. I hope you like chocolate. Oh. Very good, man. Congratulations. Put the light over there.
you a copy of the first day covers, first day sale issue covers that for the U.S. Constitution stamp, and they are postmarked in Derby, Connecticut, on August 18th, 2012, the day of the new stamp release.
Thank you, Glenn, for that speech. I was particularly taken by the tradition of dropping off a son to an uncle who is, and my brother-in-law, Tom Sutnick, is here. I just want to give you one, Andrew may be on your doorstep the same day, so he's all yours. Thank you, Glenn. This really concludes the